Hi everyone. So last week we learned about systems of inequalities. Let's just quickly review the things we need to know in order to solve a system of inequalities. Okay, we always solve systems of inequalities by graphing. The first thing we need to know are our symbols. So when we're graphing our system of inequalities, there's going to be two new things, and the first thing is the type of line we're going to use. So in a system of inequality, you're either going to have a dashed line or you're going to have a solid line. All right, the dashed lines, well, let's talk about the other thing first, sorry. And then in a system of inequality, what's also new is that we're going to have to do shading. So if you had a graph, there's two different ways we could shade. You can either shade above your line or you could shade below. Okay, I highly suggest you copy this chart down if you don't already have it. Okay, so when we're shading above, we're going to have our greater than symbols, right? Because our numbers above are going to be greater than what we have. And then the difference between the dashed line and the solid line is that the solid line has the or equal to symbol. So this one, that's a dashed line and shaded above, is greater than. And then this one, which is a solid line and shaded above, is greater than or equal to. All right, so then our shade below lines are both going to be less than symbols, and the one that's going to be solid is going to be a less than or equal to symbol. All right, let's go ahead and apply this to some of our problems. So on this first example, they give us two inequalities and we have to graph the solution set. So our first one I'm going to graph is y is greater than or equal to negative 3x plus 6. What we're just going to do is we're going to go to our calculator and we're going to press y equals in our calculator and we're going to enter this as if it were an equation. Y equals to negative 3x plus 6. Okay, so you enter that into your calculator and then you go ahead and hit second graph to get your table of values. You do not need to copy down the entire table of values, but you do need to plot all the points that fit on this graph, okay? I believe the first point that is going to work will be will be negative 1. Okay, if I put in negative 1, we end up getting a positive 9. 0 gets us 6. A positive 1 gets us 3. A positive 2 gets us 0. And again, I'm not making these numbers up. You get these numbers straight from your calculator. 4 gives us negative 6. 5 gives us negative 9, okay? And then that's where we stop, okay? Because the next point will not fit in our graph. So go ahead and plot these points. Negative 1 gives us 9. 0 is at 6. 1 is at 3. 2 is at 0. 3 is at negative 3. 4 is at negative 6. And 5 is at negative 9. Now, the next thing we have to ask ourselves is this symbol that we have. Am I going to have a dashed line or a solid line? If you forget, go and refer to your chart, okay? But it has the or equal to, so this is going to be a solid line. Connect your dots with a solid line. Okay, and then we also want to ask ourselves, are we going to shade above or below? Again, go ahead and refer to your chart if you forgot. So this was a symbol that I had. It was a solid line, and we're going to be shading above for the symbol. So by shading above, what we really mean is that we have our inequality. It broke our graph up into two parts, right? This yellow part and then this purple part. If you're looking for what's above, go ahead and pick one of your points. I always pick our y-intercept and then draw an arrow that's above this point. Notice that we are in the purple section, meaning the purple section is the section that's going to be shaded. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and shade that in. When you shade this in, please do not shade randomly like this, okay? We want to draw nice shade marks. So from the line, nice little like diagonal slanted shade marks like this, slanted lines. Again, they're not crazy, okay? But they also have to reach the end of the graph. We don't want shade lines like this. That's not going to help us. All the way to the end of the graph. All right, beautiful. That was our first inequality. We still need to graph our second inequality. This is our second inequality. Let me write that over here. Y is less than 2x minus 4. Again, we're going to go to y equals. And you're going to enter it as if it were an equation. So I'm entering in y equals 2x minus 4. And then to get your table of values, again, we're going to press second, graph, and I'm going to copy down the table of values here so that just in case if I plot the points wrong, I can still get partial credit. The first point that is going to fit on our graph is -3. Okay, -3 gives us -10. If I plug in my calculator, if I look at -2, -2 is going to give us -8. -1 gives us -6. 0 gives us -4. And then 1 is -2. 2 is 0. 3 is 2. 4 is 4. 5 is 6. 6 is 8. And 7 is 10. And that's the last point that's going to fit on this graph. All right, let's go ahead and plot these. -3, -10 is down here. -2, -8. -1, -6. 0, -4. 1, -2. 2, 0. 3, 2. 4, 4. 5, 6. 6, 8. And 7, 10. All right. Once I have all my points, the next thing I need to do is to draw my line. Okay, you're gonna want to ask yourself, again, let's look at the symbol. Is this going to be a solid line or a dashed line? Since it does not have the or equal to, this is a dashed line. So we are connecting our points with a dashed line. Okay, a dashed line looks like this. Okay, it's not a line that connects, right? There's like spaces in between. The next thing we need to ask ourselves is, do I shade above or do I shade below? Since this is a less than or symbol, we are going to be shading below. All right, and I'll just use the highlighter again just to indicate our red line right now, that's the inequality I'm looking at, broke my graph up into two pieces, okay? The purple piece and this yellow piece over here. I'm ignoring the green line that I have right now, ignoring that first inequality. And we just said that we need to shade below. So let's go to our y-intercept, draw an arrow going below. And notice we are in the yellow section. So that's the section that we are shading. Okay? All right, go back to your line. Again, we're going to draw nice shades, nice diagonal lines. For me, on my iPad, I have multiple colors, so it's going to be really, really easy for me to see if where our intersection is. But when you guys are doing this with one color, it's a little bit more difficult because unless you shade really nicely. If you shade nicely, it's not going to be difficult. Last thing we need to do when we have a system of inequalities is to put an S where the solution is. In a system of inequalities, the solution is where we overlap, okay? So where the red and green are overlapping. For you guys on your paper where there's double shading. Okay? And then that means any point in this double shading is a solution. So for example, let's say the point 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2. 6, 2 is a solution. Okay, because it's in the double shading. Let's do 5, -3 is also in the solution as long as it's in the shaded part. Okay, for example, the point -4, 2, so -4, 2 would not be in the solution because it's not in the double shaded. The point 2, 9 is not in the solution because it is not in the double shaded area. I have a tricky one. Ready? The point 3, 2. 3, 2, that's this point right here in gray. That is not part of the solution. Last week when we just did just one inequality, we always said that dashed lines are not part of the solution, okay? If it's on a dashed line, it is not part of the solution. And there you have it. That's all there is to a system of inequality. I'll see you guys next time. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below or ask me in